Welcome everyone to Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce's webinar on celebrating Small Business Week. I'm Sarabjeet Singh Arora, Creative Director of Think Brown Media, a full-service media agency. We are a creative production house that provides creative solutions in audio, video productions, photography, integrated marketing, including experiential marketing, digital marketing, promotion, and sponsorship. I'm also a member of the Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce's Presidential Secretariat. In today's program, we will be discussing the life journeys of entrepreneurs of three Indo-Canadian businessmen who began small and have grown to achieve greater heights. Their stories have to be seen in the context of significance of small businesses to the Canadian economy. In the context of Indo-Canadian community, it is pertinent to emphasize that a majority of first-generation Indo-Canadians turn to business to give expression to their experience, qualifications, acumen, and to fulfill their ambitions. We will have a narration of entrepreneurial journeys from Pradeep Sood, the co-founder and director of Highbury Hanco Corporation, Dave Kapil, Chair, New Brampton Task Force, and finally, Vijay, whom you all know, founder and CEO, Tangentia. After their narrations, we will have an interactive session with them, and depending on the time that we have, we will field questions from the audience. Before we begin our program, let me briefly talk about our Chamber's Small Business Assist program. We're offering free counseling in availing government benefits for small businesses, COVID-19 impacted issues falling under financial services domain, business accounting, taxation, statutory filing challenges, impact and solutions within the information technology area, assistance for business restructuring. If you require assistance with any of these matters, send us an email at iccc@iccconline.org. I repeat, icc@iccconline.org. And one of our board members will assist you. Now, some disclaimers are in order. Information provided at these webinars is for general information purposes only and does not constitute legal or professional advice. The presentation of any material or information does not constitute or imply ICCC's endorsement or recommendation. ICCC specifically disclaims any legal liability. Views expressed by the speakers are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of ICCC. It is now time for me to get Mr. Pradeep Sood to start his first narration. Mr. Sood is an Indo-Canadian icon. Pradeep Sood is a director and principal at Highbury Hanco Corporation, where he has also served as chairman. He has led the purchase of Heinz facility at Leamington, Ontario in 2014, which saved more than 250 jobs. Today, the food processing facility employs over 600 full-time employees. He's the founder of Scribe Inc. and Outsource Process Inc. Both are IT companies. Pradeep has the distinction of having served on business boards at all three levels of government. He was a chairman of Ontario Chamber of Commerce and a director on the boards of Toronto Regional Board of Trade and Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Pradeep has chaired and organized fundraisers to support Markham Stouffville Hospital, victims of the Fort McMurray fire disaster, the Royal Ontario Museum, the Textile Museum of Canada, amongst others. He sits on the boards of George Brown College, Commonwealth Games Foundation, Markham Stouffville Hospital Foundation, and Skin Cancer Canada. He received the Lifetime Outstanding Achievement Award from Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce, the Bob Marley Humanitarian Award, and the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. Pradeep receives the prestigious 2019 Professional Excellence Award from the Transformation Institute for Leadership and Innovation. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sood.
Thank you, Sarabjeet, for the kind introduction. I would also like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity. Good evening, friends. I thought I'm going to share a bit of my life as to where I'm coming from and some of the ground rules which have helped me to get where I am today. Um, I am what I call myself as a late bloomer. After completing my chartered accountancy from India, for the longest time, I worked with public and private companies, helping them in building their businesses in India, Africa, and North America. It was only in 2001, at the age of 48, that I started my own business. In the initial 23 years that I worked as an employee, I was exposed to a number of industries and got first-hand knowledge of manufacturing, sales, growing flowers in the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro, managing tea and sisal estates, and plastic extrusion, injection molding, amongst many other manufacturing and processing companies. International experience taught me a lot, and I also got to work with different cultures, which truly expanded my knowledge and understanding of different communities. In India, we believe that there is always a time for everything. So I imagine in 2001, it was my calling linked to my destiny. And let me tell you, September 2001 was not the best time for anyone to start a new life. And that was a year or time when there was global turmoil after the 9/11 attacks in the US. It took a, it took a very long time to get organized after that. After a few serious hiccups and one thing settled down, in 2003, there was no looking back for me. I must admit that it was good, but a rather tough journey. Today, when I look back and see what really helped me tide over some real difficult times, I can confidently say that if it was not for my interesting education, my upbringing, strong values, hard work, opportunities, and element of luck, I don't think I would be here today. Throughout my life, I learned that opportunities are not like the stripes of a zebra, black and white. So each stripe is different. They are visible to everyone who sees them. The opportunities are mostly in the areas which are not easily visible and where no one really wants to go. My life was somewhat similar. I was an accountant by profession, but my first two businesses were technology related, and that was the growing industry of that time. Subsequently, I ventured into other businesses, but whatever I did, I always stuck with my fundamental principles, and over the years, they have been my cornerstones in making decisions and building businesses. The first is the unique ability of the business, determined by the time you are in and what is the product, the services, and that you're providing, the size of the market, etc. One has to determine the unique ability of the business, and I've always been very careful in picking what I want to do, ensure that it doesn't become a Me Too business. I've also spent a lot of time in doing my homework whenever I've tried to pick up a business or build a business from scratch. As you know, not all businesses are big when you start. More often than not, they're small, and then with the right ingredients, one builds them to their potential. As Sarabjeet mentioned, we recently purchased a food processing plant in Leamington. We started by employing 250 full-time workers and processing 80 million pounds of tomatoes. Over the years, through efficiencies and focused execution of our mission, today the plant employs 650 full-time workers, and we are processing over 330 million pounds of tomato. It took a true vision of the owners, a lot of hard work and investment to grow from a small company into a larger one. Small or large, there are certain fundamentals that I've learned over the years that apply to all successful businesses. The first one being that we are here as manufacturers or service providers for our customers. So my thinking has always been that it's the customer we have to be looking after. So anything, any action, any decision we take, it's always customer based. Next is to take responsibility. We believe that anything we do, any service we provide, the responsibility is ours. And the responsibility doesn't end at the time of just supplying the goods, but it carries on till the end and to ensure that the customer service takes care of a customer. So we've been very focused in trying to make sure that our customers are looked after in every which way and not just that we've sold and now the story is over. The third thing we focused on is branding. We believe that branding is extremely critical. The customer must come back to you because of the product you supply and what service he receives. What we've always done is always built our model around branding for the customer to love us and to come back to us. I mean, I'd like to share a small story. In the 90s, I had a very small business that I was managing in food only. And we used to supply samosas to none other than McDonald's. And one day I went to visit McDonald's to see how they manage the samosa over there. Would you believe it? In the McDonald's near Toronto Zoo, they had a manual with 3 pages in that. The first page had what a samosa was because the servers were not, know what the product is. The second page was how to fry it, the temperature, how long you keep it, etc., etc. And the third was how you serve it. The point I'm trying to make is the success of a business, small or large, is dependent on the consistency. So if you have proper documentation, proper manuals and all that, you're able to truly maintain everything in a very consistent manner. And so wherever a person goes, gets the same product. Since we are in the food business, for us, it's a very, very crucial part that every can, every bottle, anything that is opened of ours, anywhere in the world, it is the same. So consistency is very crucial. And finally, I believe that to grow from a small business to a large business, networking within your own industry is extremely critical because it has 2 very important pieces in it. One is you are able to keep abreast with what's happening around in the industry because you're talking to people who are in your area of business. The second is that you get the opportunity to build collaborations to grow. It's not always that you grow on your own. You need to grow, and very often this partnership comes from within your industry. So I believe that you must build a strong network within your community industry and then try and grow with them. I'm sure there are many, many more ground rules, etc., which one can define. I just wanted to share these 4 with you because these have worked for me all through my life, and I truly believe that in any business that they could help if one was to follow them. In closing, if you have a small business that you love, build a strong, solid roadmap towards its growth and then diligently execute it. Soon you will see that you have a mighty oak tree in your backyard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sood. In your introduction, I said your food processing plant employs 600 employees, but boy, was I ever wrong. You said 650. Either the employees are growing too fast, or maybe the information I had was too stale. But well, that's wonderful. Great
No, your information, Sarabjeet, is absolutely right. It's just that we are in the season, right? So this is our season. So that's why a little higher. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sood. We have with us Dave Kapil. Dave Kapil is a financial advisor who began his journey as an entrepreneur 4 decades ago. Kapil Financial provides top quality professional investment advice with personal focus. It helps people to achieve their financial goals for themselves and for their families in a timely and a cost efficient manner. Kapil Financial works with high net worth individuals, professionals, corporations to develop solutions unique to their needs. The company is small enough to give personal service to every client and large enough to do it very well. As financial advisors, Couple Financial deals with most banks, mutual fund companies, and insurance companies to be able to give you competitive rates for your everyday insurance needs. For the past 30 years, Couple Financial has helped people meet and surpass their financial goals. It offers 5 decades of combined experience strategically planning for and guiding its clients. Please join me in welcoming Dave Kapil.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do, sir.
Okay, all right. Yeah, first of all, thank you, Sarabjeet, for having me on your show along with on this event. And ICCC is doing an amazing job. So I'm very happy to be and honored to be part of this this panel. You know, when ICCC called me and asked me to join the panel, I wasn't sure which way. One of the things he had mentioned was, Pramod had mentioned that, why don't you talk about the struggles and things you went through? And you know, after I hung up the phone, I said to myself, I said, struggles, I don't remember any. And as I thought about it, I realized that every struggle I went through, actually, what had happened was I had converted that into an opportunity. So it didn't feel like a struggle anymore. The thinking was completely different. Obviously, all of us have struggled. I remember the time when I landed in Canada for about 6 months. I used to sleep on the floor. I didn't have a blanket. I didn't have a sarana, pillow, anything. You know, so you just make your things. You have to count how much was a can of Coke used to be if I bought it from a grocery store versus if I bought it on a coffee truck. So you know, that's where I'm basically coming from. Our practice is about 40 years old, but our businesses we diversified as time went by. One of the other businesses we have is we are also a developer. So we're a small developer. We buy buildings, but it's for us. We don't do it for anybody else. So we basically buy commercial buildings and we rent them out. And we've been doing that for a number of years. And I'll come to that in a second, why I'm telling you all that. So when I was thinking what to talk about, I thought I'll go on a very basic stuff, the things which will make a difference for somebody to do well in business, any business you do. And I think one of the, if I looked at a lot of folks who joined the business when I started versus when I compare it to myself, what did I do different? One of the main thing I think I did different was I was fortunate to think in terms of planning. Planning becomes a very, very crucial part. Without planning, if you don't know where you're going, it's going to be difficult to get there. Now, I was lucky, and the reason is my father was my mentor. He passed away back in 2000. He was 85 when he died, and I had never seen my father work. And the reason I never saw him work was because he retired when he was 40. So he was my idol. He was my mentor. He knew when to stop working. So my father had a textile mill back in Nairobi, Kenya. And when he was 40, he sold his half the share and he retired and moved to India. And I never saw him work. And his focus became basically that I'm gonna focus on my kids, and what I have is enough. I can't take it with me. So let's be satisfied. And he was very contented with what he did. So what happened was that sort of became my goal. So when I came to Canada when I was 18, one of the first things I thought was, okay, I gotta be like my dad when I'm 40. And then the focus went to, well, how do I become financially independent the time I get 40? And luckily, again, going back to my dad, he had owned a bunch of real estate buildings when he retired, and we were collecting rent. And he used to send me to collect rent in India. I used to be 10, 12 years old. They would say, okay, go find out if the rent is available, if the rent has come in or not. Because a lot of the tenants he had was commercial tenants. So I would go and I had some idea. So anyway, so life became very simple for me. All I knew was, in order for me to die by 40, I need to have an X dollars of income so I can survive forever. So my focus was not how much money I have, it's how much income I'll have. And so I looked at my numbers and I said to myself, okay, I need X dollars to live on. So let's assume for a second that was $6,000 a month I needed to live on. So the focus basically was down to 6,000 a month. How will I get? And as long as that money is there forever, I'll be fine. So I sat down, worked my numbers out, and I figured out, well, life is fairly simple. All I have to do is have my home paid for and buy 3 additional homes where I can get $2,000 a month of rental income. And if I can do that, I'm fine. And that's the whole focus basically went from that angle. And so the whole planning was on that angle. So the first step I had to take was I had to ensure that my house is paid for. So when I got married in 84, I told my wife, you're not going to see me for a couple of years because we need to pay this house off. And it doesn't matter the size of the house. The idea was have a shelter on my head without any financial responsibilities and worries about debt. That's all I cared about. So I was fortunate. I worked hard, probably 12, 14 hours a day. And I was able to pay the house off in a couple of years. And then after that, I basically used my house to leverage to buy additional rental properties. And the focus was, I was 20 that time. So first time when I bought my house was I was 25. And it was paid for by the time I was 26 and a half, actually. And then from there, the focus became, okay, let's buy rental houses. So that's all the focus was. Having said that, in the background, there were a few things were very important that played part for me. One was I was very crystal clear as to what my target was. So it was not linked with any particular social stuff where I have to show my friends and I have to have a fancy car and I have to have any of those things. The focus was to have a good, satisfied lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to leave it all behind. I came in empty-handed. I'm going to go back empty-handed. And the second part was my value system, fortunately, as I was being brought up, with my father was more to do with integrity and, make sure you don't rip people off, make sure you give down. All those things were playing part in my life. So as I was doing through all this, it was important to do anything I'm going to do is going to help others. That was another part focus I have, providing I was well taking care of it myself in the meantime as well. So what I did was, so the other things which came in handy was, one was to ensure, at a very early stage, I realized that to ensure that for you to have a financial independence, you need to have dual income source. And I recommend that very strongly to everybody who's starting in life, who's starting a business, you always want to focus on, you have your business and you're making money from it and you invest money into it and you pay your bills from it. But you should always have a target. You should always have a target where you have a second source of income coming in. Doesn't matter how much that is, but the idea is to build that income source. So that's where the goal part comes in, more of a general goal. Like I'll listen to people at times and they'll say, well, I've got a goal. I want to have a fancy house. To me, those situations normally don't pan out. And the reason is because fancy house is never fancy enough. You have a fancy house, now you want a better fancy house. And it just, those limits never stop. And that's where we just get lost and we forget the focus on our family, our values, our friends, what's important to us. So that goal becomes very important. Attitude is extremely important. So every time a situation comes bad, your thinking needs to be, okay, well, I got to, how can I make best out of the situation? It becomes very important. And quite frankly, every time I did come across a hurdle, and I'll give you a case in point. I used to work for a company called Manulife. I was a general manager for them. And I was working there till about 1987. I was a manager. Manulife decided to change the way they structured. They closed their branches. So suddenly I had a high 6-figure income and it went away. And when it went away, that was the best thing ever happened. Because had that not happened, I would not have done what I've done. I'm not wealthy rich, but all I know is I have enough. My next 3 generations can't finish it. That's all I know. And as long as they don't blow it, it's good enough. So what I did was when they closed the office, I actually said, I'm not going to put myself in this position ever again. I'm going to be self-employed. So that's when I started my practice. So as a general manager, when I started in the business back in 1980, actually, I started as a financial advisor, then I went to the management side and then went back into financial advising again. So I was renting an office and so this is the first time when that happened. started my practice all over again. So started from scratch, built my practice, but planning became very important. So one plan was to have a bigger picture as to where I'm going in my life. The second plan was, if I'm going to do a financial practice, what kind of financial practice I need. So actually, I spent 2 days locked in my office door. I mean, literally, I shut my door, and that's all I was doing, trying to figure out who I'm going to deal with. Because there's a world is out there to do my business with. There are plenty of financial advisors doing the stuff I do. How can I make myself different? How can I stand out of the crowd? And to make the long story short, the decision after 2 days was made to deal with physicians. And one of the reasons was financially, they never suffer. So if they are doing financially fine, I know I'll do financially fine. I'm in the financial planning business. So that was one. And the second part was to deal with high net worth people, because if I'm advising, the amount of time I spent with a wealthy person is the same amount of time I'll spend, if not more, with a person who's not so wealthy. And so I end up wasting a lot of my time with somebody who doesn't understand, whereas a wealthy person has a much better idea as to what I'm on about. So it sort of put me in a unique position. So was it harder work? Absolutely. For about 2 years, I really struggled for the first 2 years, but I was patient. I knew eventually I'll get to where I want to go. So the practice started. And by this time, actually, my houses were paid for. 3 houses I had bought slowly, they were paid for. So I had a revenue income coming in. So I was not worried about making money anymore. I was more concerned with respect to making sure I'm taking care of the clients I'm dealing with. The planning became very important. So attitude was important, planning was important. The third thing, I found myself very different from everybody else. And I find that with most successful people I come across, these folks, they do their homework. And by that, what I mean is they understand their product, they understand their clients, they understand what their needs are, and they ensure they know inside out their stuff. One of the things I find is most people, even in the insurance business, they want to go and sell insurance. That's all they care about. They're not concerned about making their clients wealthy. Like our target always is to ensure our clients become wealthy, because the wealthier they get, the wealthier we get. So it becomes very straightforward. But there's a lot of effort goes into it, learning a product. So we made sure we understood business, how it works. We understood how taxation, how it works. We understood how strategic planning works, and so on and so forth. So the homework becomes very important. The next thing I found was that you need to have your eye on the ball at all times. So you need to be completely crystal clear focus as to what you're doing. So my goal, remember, for the retirement was very straightforward. I knew where I was going. It was in terms of income, and I had to have these houses paid for, and that's all I cared about. The second step I had was, it was very clear, straightforward again, that I need to practice. I need to understand what my product lines, what I'm selling to my clients, ensure how to help them. Then the hard work, everybody can do. Hard work is the easy part, in my opinion. If you don't work hard, well, then you deserve what you get. But if you work hard, the sad part sometimes I find is people will work 10 times harder than me. But because they did not have plan in place, they did not have a focus in place, it becomes very difficult. So the drive and the hard work becomes very, very important. All I can say is, it's been a pleasure doing what I've been doing. We've made our clients very wealthy over the years. And it's not wealthy because with the products we sold, it was just the advice we gave them. That based on the advice, it made life easy for them to get wealthy. The other thing I would like to say, I don't know how much time I have. I just want, sorry, how much do we have?
No, we're actually a little bit off our time right now. So okay. Yeah, so, if you can just wrap it up, it'll be great.
No, we're good with that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
We're definitely going to have a lot of questions for you, especially with the goal. I think as an entrepreneur, I can actually see how important it is to have those goals that are specific, the goals that challenge, goals that are measurable, and the goals that provide a line of sight to you. They're very important. So if not anyone else, I would certainly have more questions on goals for you. So yeah, please go ahead, and then we'll move on.
No, I'm done. I'm good. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kapil. Thank you for taking time out to speak to us. And now, allow me to welcome Vijay Thomas, founder and CEO of Tangentia. Vijay is the Vice President of Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce, handling the portfolios of international trade and ITC. He's also the co-founder and CEO of Tangentia, an IT company with offices in Toronto, Goa, India, and New York. What a place to have an office, Goa. Vijay established Tangentia in 2003. Tangentia was founded as a system implementer of IBM WebSphere software in the supply chain and e-commerce domains. Today, Tangentia is a leading boutique consulting technology and outsourcing firm with a comprehensive portfolio of solutions that can bridge the most challenging technology gaps. We can help your company realize significant cost savings across an entire organization and its supply chain. Wow, what a thing, Vijay. Tangentia's teams are located in 5 continents and 30 plus countries, offering a think global, act local approach to the solutions it provides. Tangentia customers include RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, Liquor Control Board, LCBO, Reliance Retail, Whirlpool, Saskatoon, Vanguard, and 1,000 plus mid-sized companies globally. Tangentia is a platinum partner of IBM with strong global capabilities around Watson AI. In addition, other major partnerships include Automation Anywhere, Microsoft, Salesforce, Blue Prism, UiPath, Google AI, and AWS. Boy, all those big technical words. Please allow me here to welcome Vijay Thomas and join me in welcoming Vijay Thomas. Vijay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarabjeet. You've done a better job at introducing me than I would have done myself. So thank you very much, and everybody on the Zoom call as well as on Facebook. Welcome, and I think this is great. I mean, for the first time, I'm on this side of the table here. I helped start this, the Thursday talks and the webinar series, and for most of them, Sarabjeet, I was doing what you were doing, but today I happen to be on this side, and what a panel here. I mean, Dave, Kapil, Pradeep, Sood. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be on the same panel as both of you, and I think my exploits or things that I've done probably pale in comparison, but I think I might have a couple of nuggets that I can share with the people wanting to consider entrepreneurship, and I'll probably share that, and more than anything else, I think I wanted to give a perspective of being a first generation entrepreneur. Like and I don't know if a lot of you on the board on the panel here and around are probably from North India. Okay, a lot of people from South India. The first thing, if you're in South India, is go get a government job, right? Go get a government job, go find something. So my dad worked for the government. My mother was a school teacher, and they were like, it never even crossed their mind that you could, business was something that you could even consider doing. So I went against the grain on in terms of, even considering business, letting that thought even cross my mind, because there were lots of people, there were shipwrecks in our family that people had tried this and nobody ever succeeded. So the fact that you were going to try to do this is either you're stupid or brave, but, in their minds, I think it was the first, not the second, but, somehow I kind of, stuck by it and went through it. And you know what, you kind of, you went through it. And so if anything, I would say if you don't try, you never know. So as Pradeep has mentioned, he kind of started this with the wisdom and the maturity of life, right? He started it when he was much older. I started my business when I was 30 years old. So Pradeep, there is a benefit to having done that. You actually knew a lot of things. On contrary, I jumped into the pool not knowing if the water was hot or cold, but I was like, let's figure it out. And then as you when there's something came floating by, you jumped on it, you made it a raft and stuff like that. So my stories are slightly different, but I still believe there's a lot of entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs out there. Sometimes they plan a little too much. Okay, there is what's the word I'm looking for? There is if you I'm not getting the terms right now, but analysis paralysis. Okay, if you analyze a lot too much, you get paralyzed. Okay, so at some points you got to jump in. Okay, there's no way you can learn to swim by not jumping into the pool, right? I mean, you need to know somebody. You need to make sure there is water in the pool. Okay, so make sure there's water in the pool. Don't jump into an empty pool, right? So make sure there's water. You might not know the temperature of the water, but you know what? You're not going to die, right? So it is not frozen. It is, so I think you need to know some bit of, but I think there is no, I meet a lot of people. I will make my first million from my job and then I will start my company. And I almost said, I will give you in writing, you're never going to start a business, right? And I'm saying you're never going to. You've got to, be ballsy, pardon my French, you got to jump in, you got to go do it, right? So now that Pradeep and Dave have both given you guys some rules, I have a couple of rules of my own. I'll get through them quickly. Sarabjeet, I will be quick. I have, the first one is, I said nothing is rocket science. Not even rocket science is rocket science. And Elon Musk has proven it to us today, right? When at one day we thought you needed to have NASA scientists are the only people that can send rockets to the moon. Elon Musk has proven it. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to send a rocket ship, right? So I think that's something that I think is one of my key rules. My second one is a very it's a very Hindi colloquial rule. It's called 19-20. 19-20, for those of you who don't understand Hindi, is 1920. So 1920 means the difference between 19 and 20 is 5%. So what I'm really meaning here is don't sweat the small stuff. You got to get the sometimes people try to be very precise. Precision is overrated. Precision, I kind of say we grew up in India at a time when precision was overrated. Precision was the thing. Shakuntala Devi could get, the pi to 300, decimal places. What's the use of that? Is there any value for that in the real world? Zero, absolutely zero. A calculator can do that, right? But what I realized is, you need to get andaz, or you need to be able to come up to some kind of, estimation of where this is going, right? You don't need to be precise, but you need to estimate. So direction is more important. So that is, I think, my second rule. My third rule is very similar to the rule of the oak tree in the backyard kind of thing, but it's in Hindi. It's boond boond se banta samandar. So boond boond se banta samandar is not just, you've got to collect it, in little ways, but also continuous improvement. You got to keep improving on a daily basis, and then slowly you got that oak tree in the end. So with that, Sarabjeet, my few points there, and I think I should be on time.
Thank you very much, Vijay. That was brief, to the point, very concise, and yet very effective. I love those nuggets. Boon boon se banta sagar, and I think Dave would agree with me that one house was his one boon, and the second house was the second boon, and the third house was the third boon. He had droplets enough of the water to make his own little pond or an ocean, whatever you may want to call it, and there was enough for him to go and swim in it. So yeah, this is some amazing information, and truly enough, being an entrepreneur myself, Vijay, I can totally relate to you when you say, when at the age of 30, when you jump in without knowing the real world. I did something even worse than this. I'd never worked for as an employee anywhere, and I started my own business through the very first day. And I don't know how I did it, but here I am with you all, talking to you. But it's great to learn from great folks like you. So this is amazing. I'm sure there will be many more questions coming from a lot of people, but I will start off with you, Mr. Sood. I do have a question for you. So, Mr. Sood, what are the biggest challenges that an entrepreneur faces, in your opinion, when he or she commences their journey?
I think it's more than a challenge. It's which everybody is alluding to is planning. I think nothing is a big challenge if you have done your homework well. To me, I've always said, spend time before you do anything, and the rest of the progress becomes very easy. So the challenges come from not planning well, I think. So, and I think anybody who asks who's made anything, okay, I agree with what Vijay said, that, there's a certain age. I mean, in my own case, when we bought Highbury, I was turning 60. And all my friends were saying that you should be talking of retirement. So you needed even better planning. Maybe at 30, you can be a little bigger risk taker. As you get older, so I'm of the old school where I do believe that planning is important. And I like what Dave said, that you set a goal. You set where you want to be. Otherwise, you don't know what success means to you. You must know what success means to you. So I think, going back to your question, that what's challenging? Challenging is to get this plan in order, to put this together in a realistic way, in a logical way, without trying to be. A lot of people say that, don't worry, we'll get the money when we reach there. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and you lose everything you have put. So I do believe that the biggest challenge for anyone is really the planning aspect.
So I think we have two sets of opinions. One is don't spend too much time figuring out things. Go ahead and do it. And then there is no figure out everything. So maybe I should put it like this. As they say, measure twice, cut once. You got to measure twice. Now, your measuring tool may or may not be the perfect tool, but you do know if it is not 12 inches, a little less than 12 inches, we'll make it happen. We'll make it somehow make it tighter on the seams, and we'll make it happen. But you got to measure. That's what Pradeep Sood says, and Vijay says 12 inches or a little bit less is okay. Heavens are not going to fall. We'll make it happen. So I think I value both the opinions. I do have a question for you as well, Mr. Kapil. You began your entrepreneurial journey many years ago. You branched out into community activisms, getting involved with initiatives such as New Brampton. Would you like to share some of your interests in activism, how this all started? What is this initiative all about? Dave, Kapil, if we can get you on this question. Yeah, I think you're muted.
Okay, yeah. I don't know how it got muted on his own. Yeah, I think it's New Brampton itself is just a simple passion for me. I am very passionate about my city. For years, I saw how city was evolving, and the bunch of us, we've been chatting about how Brampton has been developing and the issues we've had. And when I had the time, I said, guys, let's do something together. And there were a few of us. We had time together, and we said, you know what, let's get on with it. And basically, New Brampton took birth. And we worked very hard with the city with our politicians, with our staff, to help them get to where the city needs to be. That's the basic focus. It's a lot of people thought I'll go, and I'm sharing with a lot of ICCC guys. A lot of people think that I have interest in politics. I do not. I do not like politics. I have no aspirations to become an MP or an MPP or a mayor or a councillor or anything. You will not see that. You just will not see that. This is just my way of paying back to the city, which has done a lot for me. I've been living in the city for 40 years, with the exception of 1 year. I lived in Markham, and I came back to Brampton. I love the city. I think it's a magnificent city. We have everything available over here, except the reputation is not good. And that probably is a bit of a soft point for me, because Brampton is known for Indians. And if our reputation is not good, guess what? My Indian reputation is not good. And that really hurts me. So that's where I come from. And we work with everybody. And I think Brampton is doing very well. Did I answer your question, Sarabjeet?
Yes, you did. Certainly you did. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think as a Brampton resident, I can definitely say that, you know what, it's probably one of the best cities to live in. I love being here. From wherever I've lived, from Kitchener to Mississauga to Brampton, this is my best place. And my reason is more like Pradeep Sood's reason of samosa. I love my samosas a bit too much. Sadly, McDonald's doesn't sell samosas, but any corner store that I go to in Brampton does sell samosas. I love it for that. So yeah, thank you for making Brampton a great city, Dave. Vijay, I want to move on to you and ask you a question. Vijay, is Canada an easier place to run a business, to start a business, as compared to India and United States? I know you run businesses in all three countries. What do you think of Canada as a place to run business as compared to other countries?
I think Canada, at a very high level, especially it is probably a little more difficult to get started, right? I mean, I used to joke that it was easier for us to break into a US bank and get a US bank to do business with us than actually sign a Canadian bank. However, having said that, what I found out as you go along, Canada, the market is quite conservative, but once you get in, the relationships are much stronger. So it is, in the US, the relationships are not as strong. So once you get in, you've got to watch your back, because it's very easy for them to probably they very easily sign a new vendor on board, but you could be replaced very quickly as well. Okay, so I think philosophically I realized, and kind of it's unfair to the startup, but once you've established yourself, it kind of is an advantage to be in Canada. But when you're starting off, it is a grind, it is difficult. But if you hang in there, I think you build a brand, you build the trust. When people know you, I think that's a good place to be. And I think it's the same in India as well. It takes some time to get in, to break in. It took us 7-8 years to even get significant size in India. But I think once we started getting in, and you've got a couple of brand name customers, the next people said, okay, you know what, they seem to be okay. I mean, so and so is doing business with them, or so and so. So it took a long time. But I think in the US, they're a little more risk taking. So you could actually bag a decent sized contract in the US, get into a bigger company, maybe easier than in India or in Canada. That's based on my experience.
Now, Dave Kapil may or may not have an interest in politics, Vijay, but you have given us a very politically correct answer and said Canada, US, or India, they're all very easy to work with. Why did you stay put? You keep doing the thing that you're doing the right way. You would eventually earn some business. So great answer. Thank you, Vijay. I guess that's one of the key things for any entrepreneur or any business owner, to stay put, to keep doing what you're doing and do it in the right direction. And in fact, this is the same thing that's been pointed out by BK Sethi, who's with us right now. And amazing comment, actually. And I hold BK Sethi in the high regard for the business that he has run as an entrepreneur. He says 3 key points are customer focus, planning and execution, and earning and building trust. And I think all 3 of you agree with this. So yeah, moving on, Pradeep, Sood, I have sorry, go on, Vijay.
Okay, so with BK Sethi, I would like to mention, I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Sethi. He was one of our top initial 5 customers. So Mr. BK Sethi, thank you very much, sir. I am forever obliged for your trust and your confidence when we were starting off.
So let me all get you into another secret of mine. I run a small business, and I can't afford to hire consultants at times. Guess who do I go to? I call Mr. BK Sethi, and anytime I'm in trouble, I call him and say, I'm stuck with this. What do I do? And he always bails me out. So that's the kind of mentor and help he's been to me. So thank you again. Here's another shout out for you, Mr. BK Sethi.
I just want to quickly add something.
Yes,
if I can. I want to sort of clarify what Vijay and Pradeep were talking about with regard to planning and over planning. And both of them are 100% correct, because I've seen people, I think that's what Vijay was alluding to. I've seen people, they just keep on planning and planning and planning and planning and planning, and they don't execute anything. And that's where I think the difference is. Planning is extremely crucial. I'm sure Vijay agrees with it. Without a plan in place, there was no way he would have gotten where he is. Mm-hmm. Having said that, lack of planning won't get you anywhere. Usually you'll find that unless you get lucky somewhere along the line, and then you can fail as well because there was no plan in place. But you can't overplan, because that's one of the things I find a lot of people they just keep on planning. There's some people you'll find, they keep on getting degrees, and they just keep on getting degrees after degrees after degrees. That's basically the same thing. You just can't keep on doing that. You have to execute.
Yeah, so there is a time when you got to plan, and then there's a time for you to act. You cannot,
Yes.
your planning has to turn into actions at some point, and that's when you would reach the goal. Or
Absolutely.
pure planning would not take you anywhere. So great point. Thank you. I do have some more questions, but I also have a question from Parth Patel, and this is open to all three of you panelists, and I would like to seek your opinion on this. The question is, give us some ideas on B2B sales and big manufacturing industry. So B2B sales ideas and manufacturing. If anyone has any idea, if you could give us that.
It depends actually on what products you're talking about. It's very critical. Because in B2B, there are certain products which are necessary but not too value add. And there are some which you can replace because of the value add you bring to the table. So basically, when you are on a B2B situation, it's value creation, because the other business is also going to further work on it. So there has to be a true value creation, and it's not necessarily price-based value creation. It's very often efficiency-based value creation. So depending on what product they're talking about, I may not be on the.
Interrupt you there. I do have the product. It's been clarified. Automotive parts, automotive parts manufacturing and supply.
So I know very little about that, but I can see, the thing is that one of the most difficult things in manufacturing is to convince your shop floor people to change any part which they are using at the moment. They are very nervous to change it because they do not know which way it will go. So from that point of view, very often it's difficult to just go and hope that somebody will buy your product. So my experience has been that you have to truly study your customer, see what the value add you are really bringing, and make pricing and all as a secondary, third issue. It has to be efficiency that it will work, and do some trials with them, obviously. And if it will work, then you go to the next step.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. Anyone else wants to add anything, gentlemen?
So specifically, I think specifically around automotive parts manufacturing, again, this is not, but if I were to crystal ball this, I think today, I think we can all, kind of agree, it is going to, the future is going to be electric. So if you want to bet, you want to skate to where the puck is going to be, then I think you got to look at anything in the electrical car supply chain. Look at making motors, batteries, anything that goes into electric car, I think would be a smart move, right? I mean, obviously you'll have to figure out what and how and all that kind of stuff. But I think directionally, if you can be ahead of that, I think, if you're in the auto parts supply chain, rather than trying to see how to make something cheaper for, conventional car, try to make something new for the new car. And I think that would probably definitely, the margins will be better. It's going to be not as much competition, and you'll be the leader.
So great example of Unisbe's planning by Vijay Thomas there. The planning is there that you got to get into the electrical car business, but then the Unisbe's part is you could be doing the motors, or you could be doing the batteries, or you could be doing anything else to do with the electric cars, but it has to be an electric car. So yes, you do need planning, but it could vary. You could go in any direction. Guys, I do have some more questions, but I guess we're closing. We're getting very close to the closing time. So I think I'm going to hold back those questions and probably buy you all lunch someday and buy your time with that and ask you those questions personally. So with that note, I'm going to invite Surinder Sharma from the board to come and speak to you all. And thank you for joining us. So Surinder Sharma ji, please.
Surinder ji, you're on mute, I think.
Good evening, friends. What an interesting and interactive session we had today. And we never expected that we will have so much to learn from this session today. And this should definitely motivate many of us who are sitting on the fence if they should take a leap to start some business. I think it is time those who are planning and thinking should really jump into it and be an entrepreneur. So it was a great pleasure to have three of my good old friends as speakers today: Pradeep, Sood, Kapil, and Vijay Thomas. Pradeep, you are an inspiration to the entire Indo-Canadian community for your visionary contributions to the society, and you are one of the pioneers in leading us to the Canadian mainstream, I would say, because I have seen your leadership style as I was one of the active members of ICCC when you were involved in one of the hottest presidential elections in 2003, when you won and you had a great term as president at that time. I think it was 2003 to 5. Am I right? Okay. So later, when I was director at the Mississauga Board of Trade, I have closely watched your role as the president of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. And again, few professionals from the Indian community really go out and try to be in the Canadian mainstream to play a leadership role. I think we really need to applaud your role in that. And here I'd like to make, thank you. Here I'd like to make a strong point that any inspiring Indian businessmen first have to learn how to get out of your comfort zone of staying within our own community. We all, though we have come from India, but here also in Canada, we try to tend to be within our own community. So we must go out, mix with new people, widen our circle if we have to become successful as Canadian business owners. So it's one of the points I think I should touch, which any newcomer has to learn. And Pradeep, I think you must lead another workshop in the coming weeks on where we should try to touch this point, how to sharpen this particular skill, really how to go out and outreach in the Canadian mainstream. So we express our sincere gratitude to Brother Kapil for joining today. He is a dynamic voice of New Brampton. And I would say actually he serves the kitchen cabinet of Patrick Brown, if I'm right. So he may not be a councillor, but he has a big say in Brampton. Dave's presence as a panelist provided depth to our understanding of the subject. A great community leader, his holistic approach gave a unique perspective to the subject. And our sincere thanks to our own Vijay Thomas, founder and CEO of Tangentia. Vijay has great understanding and insights into the subject. He leads from the front. Having worked together on the board of ICC, I must say he is a great team player, a quality for any success in small business. And also, I was not told, but I have to make a final word about Sarabjeet. You are a great surprise. I was thinking Vijay is like an opening batsman. We are sending him down in the order today. Opening slot will be a very weak, but you did a perfect job facing all the bouncers and doing and hitting around the fences. So finally, friends, our chamber has managed to conduct a series of webinars since April 2020 because of the continued support we get from our stakeholders that includes all levels of governments in Canada and India, including the high commissions and the consulates. So special thanks to our technology partner, Tangentia, the company that provides us with the background support to organize these webinars. And our thanks to our annual sponsors, gold sponsor Turkish Airlines, silver sponsor TD Bank, bronze sponsor Peter and Paul, sector sponsors Seneca College, SBI Bank Canada, Raymond James, ICICI Bank of Canada, TELUS, and GT20. Media partners, Weekly Voice, PTC Punjabi, and Y Media. I also want to put on record our chamber's gratitude to all those who participate in these webinars as audience, both in Zoom and on Facebook Live. We have been getting great response from the community in watching these webinars. So friends, you are our customers basically. And in business, they say the customer is God. Basically, you have made these webinars successful. Thank you very much. And thank you all who participated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.